100 years ago, there was an FXR. I wrecked that FXR, and this Bassani Road Rage is one of the last remaining pieces of my beloved FXR. Actually, that's bullshit. I still have that bike. It's just got a new Bassani Road Rage. So this was one of the pipes that I found that actually bolted up to this. Note, not all FXR pipes bolt up to Dynas. This one does. However, I have not checked it with the mid controls yet, since I have not been able to find a set of mid controls. So, since I'm waiting on mid controls, and since this came with a custom leaky seal, what today's video is going to be on is how to dissect this FXDX front end and then rebuilding it.
Advertise, it's no surprise the way they hide, and where's the line?
Removing your handlebars isn't necessary for this procedure, but I will be doing that because I'm going to be replacing them with a set of 10-inch Lucky Dave's San Diego bars. And so, since I don't want to scratch the tank, let's go ahead and just cover that bad boy up. Fun fact, put one of these on a Honda and it will void your warranty.
All the data with it growing up the faster we know. Go! They're watching you, they're watching me. Don't record you, don't record me. Safe to say, someone on the other side of what we thought of things, and every time you think that no one's ever gonna know, they know. They're watching you, they're watching me. Don't record you, don't record me.
In the new narrative of global capitalism, the dynamics of commerce have shifted. No longer are we solely consumers, but now hybrids of both consumer and product. Corporations have pursued all avenues of information collection to create the algorithms that control our lives. Every tap on your smartphone has a data point or an evil engine that is constantly finding the best way to keep us broke.
Once you get to this point, you have a pinch bolt here, pinch bolt there, and then the same thing on the other side. You loosen those and these will slide right out. All right, now that the forks are off the bike, what I've already done is I popped this loose from the tube itself. So, I mean, I can just start unscrewing stuff, but you'll want to do that before you get everything clamped down. Yeah, so here we go. So one thing that I like to do is right here is your preload adjuster, and that just compresses down on this spring. So you have this collar right here, and what we have to do is pull this collar back, slip in a retaining clip to hold it down here, and then we pull this whole assembly loose. So this hex nut right below your rebound damping thumb wheel is for your preload adjustment. When turned, depending on direction, it will either extend or retract these three rods, which put pressure on this collar and forces the spring either in or out, creating a stiffer or softer ride. So we will be screwing it all the way in,
Reason being is because Harley has a specialty tool that locks into these little grooves right here. You pull it back, and then there's a retaining washer that goes right underneath the rod nut, and it secures everything in place. Available from Harley for your firstborn and your Wi-Fi password. But enough of that already. Getting back to the reason why we're screwing the preload adjuster all the way in is to minimize the distance that we have to pull this collar and spring back to get the retaining clip in there.
If you can see, it's extending these little rods out when I do this, which is compressing this spring, and that will make our lives a little easier. So this is just a bearing puller. It looks real similar to one that you'd pick up at Harbor Freight, because it's one that you'd pick up at Harbor Freight. What I like to do is I take this, slide it down, catch the coils up towards the top. And all you're trying to do is just catch the coils. You're not trying to put any sort of pressure on them. You can get stuff into a bind, and you don't want to do that. But yeah, just snug this down hand tight. And as you can see, all I'm doing is just getting in between the coils on the spring. That way I can pull back on this and then slide in my little washer. So normally this requires 2 people, but what I'm going to wind up doing is I'm going to be pulling on this to keep this whole section up while pushing in with my palm on that. Then using my other hand to slide into the little retaining clip. All right. That is a pain in the ass, but as you can see, there's that little retaining clip. And you just put it right underneath that washer. And that way you can get this, break all this stuff free, and then that also unscrews out of the top.
All right, so here's a look at it. As you can see, your spring's compressed, your collar is down, you've got your locking clip underneath your rod nut. I will not be breaking apart the damper setup. There's very few instances where you would have to do that. There's one other video online on the 1200S Sportster front suspension where the guy that talked like Russell Brand broke all that apart. You do not need to do that if you're just replacing seals or powder coating. So the next step is to remove the preload assembly from the damper rod assembly, which you do by removing this little stopping ring right here, which allows you to unscrew the two from each other. Just get a screwdriver or a pick and work it out of its groove. It's actually not very hard to do if you're not holding a camera. But if you decide to do this while holding a camera, then you just signed yourself up for a nice one-way ticket on the struggle bus. As you can tell. There it goes. All right.
And then I'm going to spin these two apart. Actually, yeah, I'm going to back this off so I can get onto this. It's got 2 flats, and so I get an adjustable wrench on that. And then you can actually just pop this whole assembly off right here too. So that's what I'm going to do. It's easier that way, and everything kind of stays together. Oh, shit. There goes, cool. E. Fuck. Alright, well, I just kind of fucked myself here. Let's do this. Little clip popped out. All right, back in business. And this will just all unscrew right off the top of this rod. Now the whole thing comes off just as one assembly like that. So now what I'm going to do is pull in on this, decompress that, let this clip fall out, and everything can kind of come apart. Loosen these up. And then you have a washer, that collar. Another washer that goes on the bottom of it, just like that. And then your spring. That's got oil all over it, so I will get this drained and I'll show it to you once I get to that point. So there's also a banjo bolt with a 5/16 Allen in the bottom of this that you're going to have to pop loose before everything can kind of come all the way apart. You can either use the correct tool, or if you're balling on a budget and doing this at your house, you can just use a 5/16 Allen like that. Get an end wrench, slip it over the top. Pop that loose like that. Oil will start coming out, so don't loosen it all the way just yet until you get everything drained out, but you want to get that broke loose. So there's everything all disassembled. You pull that banjo bolt out of the bottom. This slides out. Of course, you have your spring back here. That comes out first. And it just rides on top of here. You saw that in the last part. Yeah, you just pump each one of these till nothing comes out. And then, yeah, you're good. What I like to do is spray some penetrating oil around this lip on your fork cap and let it sit while everything's draining. That way that comes off just a little easier. Sometimes those get pretty corroded on there, so yeah. After you've let the penetrating oil sit for a little bit, you just kind of go around and tap the dust cover off. At this point, it's pretty similar. Well, it's exactly how other traditional forks come apart. So then there's that. You pop your dust seal out. Gonna get that little spring in there, pop that out. Well, just like that. And then you just start sliding this apart. So that's how you remove and disassemble the front forks on an FXDX or 1200S. Process is going to be almost identical on both of those. So if you like this, hit like, hit subscribe, comment, tell me I'm dumb. I don't fucking care. But yeah, stay tuned for future videos.